Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to be back in Barcelona. 2 years ago, I stood on this stage. It was a bit of a surprise. I found out about 3 hours before I was getting on stage, but I guess it was okay because I've been invited back. eSIM is one we're going to be talking about in manufacturing. eSIM. Is it embedded SIM? Is it electronic SIM? A couple of years ago, we talked about environmental SIM. We were talking about the benefits of real estate, the real estate inside the device, but also the footprint, the carbon footprint associated with the eSIM, some 50% less than the traditional SIM card. Today, we'll talk about SIM again, but maybe we'll talk about efficiency SIM, as we drive efficiency in manufacturing. So, as I said, 2 years ago I was here. It's great to be back. I'm sure already 2 and a bit days in, our phones and our wearables are telling us that our step count is slightly above average. I can tell you my belt is telling me my tapas intake is slightly above average as well. But it really is tremendous to be back, see many friends and colleagues in the industry. It's a wonderful forum, and appreciation to the GSMA for setting this up and being steadfast in their activities. Okay, let's move on. The challenges. There's a multitude of challenges in manufacturing associated with efficiency. It's typically pretty rigid controls. Add into that globalization, the need for multiple manufacturing plants in multiple countries. We're going to focus on 2 areas. The connectivity within the manufacturing infrastructure, and then the connectivity enablement of the devices being connected. So let's start with the first one. We mentioned connectivity within the factories. There are certainly organizations at the forefront of this space. Automotive would be a wonderful example. I mean, many years' worth of investment, huge investment, enabling almost a conveyor belt of new features, new cars, but actually module after model is not necessarily the same. It's almost real-time manufacturing now in the automotive space. But outside of automotive, it's a very different step. Very, very rigid, a lot of Wi-Fi dependency still, which can have some challenges. Cellular, especially 5G cellular, is providing secure, high levels of security, high levels of efficiency, high levels of robustness. As a consequence, we're starting to see the emergence, as Rich mentioned, of 5G private network. It's been talked about for a while, but there's more extensive spending on this as it stands. And then you have the connectivity enablement of the devices themselves that are being manufactured. Historically, and still predominantly, you're looking at pre-insertion of pre-personalized SIM cards. Whether they be pluggable or whether they be soldered, most of these cards today are still pre-personalized. This has to evolve. Why? Because of SKU management. If you're building a device designed in the United States, manufactured in Asia, multiple countries in Asia, distributed and sold around the world, the number of SKUs that you will have to manage associated with the final point of destination connectivity can be staggering. We've heard this directly from many manufacturers. 5, 10, even 20 is not insurmountable. That means for every product you build, you've got 20 variants depending on one component, a SIM card. So let's move that to a late stage personalization, the final step. It becomes one partner, one SKU, being used for all of your clients, and in that final step, you're able to personalize associated with the destination country and the destination mobile network operators. This is reality today, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so where is the market heading? The market is certainly heading towards more automation, digitization, as Rich said, and high investment associated with this. 5G is becoming a serious reality in the manufacturing world. ABI is indicating approximately $1 billion spend in 2025, and within 5 years from now, that'll increase to over $9 billion. That is just the efficiency and the connectivity within the factory itself. And it offers super opportunity, not just for in-factory, but also public-private transfer, the ingress and egress of devices in and out between the public and the private network, an area that we and many others in the industry have spent extensive time making sure can be accommodated. The automation starts looking at autonomous robots within factories. Low latency, high bandwidth becomes essential. Another example why Wi-Fi just won't cut it, and the realization and the utilization of 5G networks. Okay, what else? Well, distribution of factories. And actually getting close to not quite real time, but near time adaptation of where our factories are. We're living in a strange world right now, ladies and gentlemen, with geopolitics and the need to potentially move from one location to another. Having consistency, having standards, having common connectivity paradigms across those networks and across those factories will enable fast adaptation where necessary. I talked about the late-stage personalization. This is a specification informing. That's the good news. The membership across the GSMA has invested heavily in this. I'm very pleased to say it's a reality today in certain implementations. And as is G&D's want, we typically invest heavily in the early days and then contribute into those specifications and standards. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we were proud enough to be the very first eSIM supplier in 2010 in an automotive world in the United States with a United States carrier. And then in 2015 was the first eSIM-enabled handset. I don't know if anybody's got a guess of how many there are now, but there's a lot. I'll give an indication of that as we go forward. So investing in the future is important. And then you have the SGP32. This is about steering of connectivity. So you've got in-factory personalization, and then you've got post-factory in the field steering of the connectivity as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we feel that G&D, as an early entrant into these markets, is ideally able to support the manufacturing community as they go through this next wave of transition. Okay, so profile delivery to devices, late-stage personalization, pre-specification. We have over 170 million devices that we have late-stage personalized in a factory across our community of clients. So this is a reality today. Though the specification is not ratified, we're following and contributing towards that. The endpoint connectivity management. I talk about steering. Once you have the device and it's born, connected, comes out of the factory, already alive with a credential, that credential may or may not remain in place depending on the movement of those devices. So in-field market steering of connectivity is also essential, and G&D provides a platform called the IoT Suite, working with many, many of our mobile network operators around the world to help govern and direct the connectivity. Security, ladies and gentlemen, is built in by default. The architecture of the cellular network, the architecture of the mechanics for the creation of the profile, the downloading of the profile into the devices, has been regimented for many years. It's super, super secure, and I think will do nothing but build confidence to that community. And as mentioned, through the RSP, the ability to change and manage the profiles, supporting this ingress and egress between public networks and private networks. Supply chain is crucially important to the factory, so goods coming in would potentially be coming in from a public network and then entering the private network of the factory. The ability to support and manage the transition there is also highly attractive to the community. So why G&D? Well, this is why G&D. 2010, I mentioned, was the first play. 2015, the first eSIM-enabled handset. If you can combine the consumer devices, the enterprise devices, and the industrial devices that G&D is supporting, we've now enabled, G&D inside, over 1.1 billion devices to support eSIM. 2 years ago, we mentioned 100 million consumer eSIM downloads. When you include the pre-specification, born connected, late-stage personalization, we've now exceeded 500 million. I think this gives us the rights to say we're the #1 in eSIM. With over 300 implementation partners, mobile network operators, supporting our devices around the world and supporting our platforms, we really have confidence that we've been able to drive and support the growth of the eSIM market. Manufacturing is the next play. eSIM is where we believe it is today, but iSIM will follow. And it's important to state that, because for the last 3 years, iSIM has been mentioned. We've even had people on the stage talking about iSIM. It's just still nascent. It absolutely has a requirement. Actually, we use them ourselves in a smart label, which is a phenomenal device for tracking high-value goods around the world. Low power, so an eSIM doesn't work, but an iSIM does. And from that construct, we believe iSIM will be moving forward. So it doesn't matter as to the form factor. It can be plug-in, can be soldered, can be integrated. The platform dependency is the same. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I wish you a good day.